Peace. This is Wise for Wise Words Media, back at y'all for another round. Fresh off a well-deserved vacation. And now we are back in business. So yeah, this past Saturday, probably the greatest card ever put together. From top to bottom, from the opening bell to the last bell. So many great fights. And to think that this card could have even been better had a couple people been able to still fight that night, namely Daniel Dubois and Floyd Schofield. If they would have been able to fight, this card would have been even better than it was. But it was a great card, tremendous card. Peace to Turkey Al-Sheikh, His Excellency. Riyadh season continued to give fight fans what they want, which is the best going against the best in each weight class. Beterbiev, Bivol 2 did not disappoint. The fight started off pretty much as round 13. You know, these two in the first fight, you know, it took a couple rounds of feeling out. This one, they went straight to it. Round 13, and you saw this time around, Bivol, he kept his front foot planted. He was heavy on his front foot, meaning that he wasn't gonna let Beterbiev bully him and force him to fight on his back foot the way he was doing in the first fight. The first fight, Bivol seemed to respect Beterbiev's power. And he was a little concerned about the power, so you saw him more on his feet. He was more on his toes. He was using a lot of lateral movement, using the jab off the lateral movement, then sticking the 1-2 off the lateral, bouncing side to side, so that Beterbiev couldn't plant his feet and catch him solidly. But then in the later rounds, Beterbiev, of course, Bivol was tired from the constant movement, that Beterbiev was able to start teeing off because Bivol wasn't moving around as much. This time, the first few rounds, you saw Bivol, heavy on his front foot, stood there right in the pocket, cleanly, boxing with him. Boom, boom, boom. But then something interesting happened. After the fourth round, or from the fourth round up, you start seeing Bivol doesn't use his right hand no more. And he was catching that right hand. He was finding a home for it, but he just suddenly went away from it. When I saw that immediately, I was texting my boy. Me and him were going back and forth during the fight. And I was like, yo, I think he's hurt. He's not using the right hand. And then he pointed out to me that Bivol had like a massage therapist working on his legs in between rounds. So clearly something was up with Bivol. He wasn't throwing that right hand at all for like a good 3 rounds. Then finally, in the later half of the fight, he started to use it in spots. And then he just, as a true warrior, he bit down. And then he started using it more. But you could tell something wasn't there because he was barely using it. And for rounds, he abandoned the right hand. Later on, because of that, Bivol was tired. Beterbiev started to catch him, started to tee off. But then in the later, like rounds 10 and especially round 11, Bivol started to pull away with the fight, started teeing off, boom, 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 catching him with multiple combinations, including the right hand. And the 12th round, I say, would have went to Beterbiev, but in any event, one scorecard was too wide. Like, I didn't like that. But in any event, Bivol wins. Congratulations to Dmitry Bivol for getting not only his revenge, but to accomplish a dream that he wanted, and that was to become undisputed, to become one of only, now at this point, I believe it's only 10 fighters that have become undisputed in the 4-belt era. And congratulations to Dmitry Bivol for becoming one of those few that are able to say they are undisputed champions in the 4-belt era. This fight, and this win obviously leads to a trilogy because both men have won one fight against one another. But interestingly enough, in the post-fight interview, Bivol does reveal that he did have an injury. And I knew it. You know, like me and my boy were talking during the fight. Throughout the fight, we're like, yo, something's not right, something's not right. And he revealed that prior to the fight, he had to take like anti-inflammatories. So I'm sure that means his hand, something was bothering him with his right hand before the fight. So he will take on Beterbiev in a third fight, and that is going to be another amazing fight. This is a modern day classic. Bivol, Beterbiev, they give all they have and all within their power, and they leave it all on the line. And it's been fun, man. It's been fun, and I can't wait for the third fight. This has been one of the better trilogies, or about to be one of the better trilogies in boxing in a long time. And I'm looking forward to the third fight. As for the rest of the night, there was some great action. One of the biggest, to me, the biggest surprise was not even Bivol losing in the second round to Parker, because Bivol was a last-minute replacement. Daniel Dubois was supposed to fight Parker, but the fact that Dubois had to pull out, like Bivol came in on like a 2-day notice, like 2 days before the fight. He was told they need a replacement. Do you want to come in? And he was like, all right, with no training camp. So, you know, credit to Bivol, no training camp, and went straight, you know, to take on one of the top heavyweights in boxing. And, you know, it didn't work out for him. He ended up getting knocked out in the second round by a devastating blow to the head, and he lost his equilibrium and went down, and never, you know, he lost his balance and never recovered. But, you know, credit to him for even taking the fight on short notice. But that wasn't even the biggest surprise of the night. The biggest surprise to me ended up being when this dude, Vergil Ortiz, made easy work of Madrimov. Madrimov has really become somewhat of a household name due to the fight that he had with Terence Crawford this past year, and how competitive that fight against Crawford was. It was a highly competitive fight. It went the distance. We're not used to seeing Terence Crawford go the distance, but that one did go the distance. However, the problem was with this fight is that the comparison, now there's a lot of comparisons. Actually, I'll get into that in another video. But yeah, Vergil Ortiz made easy work of Madrimov, and now there are some comparisons. Oh, well, he had a better performance against Madrimov than Terence Crawford did. That doesn't mean anything in boxing. I'll get into that in another video. But yes, that was surprising. I believe that Madrimov, knowing that it was Terence Crawford's first fight at 154 pounds, and Terence Crawford, you know, being 147, Madrimov a natural 154 guy, and it's his first fight, Madrimov felt, let me be the powerhouse. Let me impose my size on Terence Crawford. And you saw Madrimov was more aggressive in the Crawford fight. With Vergil Ortiz, he's like, okay, this is a full-fledged 154-pounder. He's been here for, you know, a number of fights already. So let me at least respect the power a little bit. He came in, you know, Vergil Ortiz looked big that night. So he respected Vergil Ortiz more. And Vergil Ortiz noticed that and started teeing off. And I was very surprised how easily he handled Madrimov that night. Easily handled Madrimov. So this sets up for some big fights for Vergil Ortiz now that he took on and defeated one of the bigger names at the 154 pounds division. So we'll look for some perhaps Terence Crawford now may be interested in that fight after the Canelo fight. We'll see what happens with that. And lastly, I just want to say, this dude, Tank Davis, laughing at Shakur Stevenson for fighting a guy who is an electrician, a day job electrician. That's not Shakur Stevenson's fault. Shakur Stevenson signed up to fight Floyd Schofield. That's who he signed up to fight, Floyd Schofield. He didn't sign up to fight Joshua Padley. That was a last second, during fight week, last minute replacement. And it wasn't because Shakur wanted that. Shakur had this guy, Floyd Schofield, because Floyd Schofield did look like he was the truth, right? To many of us, we were like, oh, shoot, this young kid looks like the next one. He looks like he's a talent. You know, he had speed and power. And that combination of speed and power, that usually takes you places. And after every fight, he kept calling out Shakur Stevenson, Shakur Stevenson. Peace to Shakur Stevenson, man. Credit to him, because most fighters wouldn't take on a young, talented fighter like that. They'll use the proverbial he has to prove himself excuse. But no, Shakur Stevenson said, oh yeah, okay. You want to use my name for clout? Let's go. Send the contract. They actually sent it. He signed it. And he told us a month before that fight that they were going to pull out. He knew it. He said, especially when they didn't arrive for the press conferences, for the presses to promote the fight, he knew they weren't going to fight. And he was right, man. He was right. So Tank is wild corny for that, for talking about LOL because Shakur fought that man. Yo, dude, we need you to fight somebody with a Hall of Fame resume. Because Tank Davis has not fought anybody with a Hall of Fame resume. He hasn't fought anybody. So for him to be laughing and dude, that's wild corny. Fight Shakur. Shakur's already been calling you out for years already. And you still don't want to do that fight. But in any event, I'm Waz for Waz Words Media. Thank you, Turkey Al-Sheikh, once again for giving us the fights that we want to see. Peace.